Is it worth buying a new bike or upgrading your existing bike? Now, this isn't actually my bike. This is a friend's bike who is getting into cycling a bit more and asked me, should I buy a new one or upgrade it? Well, I've recommended a bunch of upgrades for this one that he has purchased and I am going to install for him. We're also going to weigh it in before and after, but really the gains are going to come from rolling resistance gains and a little bit of aero gains. Realistically, we're trying to see what can be achieved with £1,000. Like I said, you can't buy a better bike than what we've got here for £1,000. So let's see what we can do with the upgrades. As we go through the video, I'm going to go through the upgrades one by one, and I would be very interested to know if you guys approve or disapprove of each individual upgrade. First of all, I need to give this guy a good wash because he is absolutely filthy. Okay, cleaning done. Now let's go weigh the bike in. Took like an hour to get all that dirt off of there. Oh my word. Let's just call that 8.85 to 8.82. That's pretty hefty. Alrighty, I've got this huge box of goodies right here and we're gonna be getting them all on the bike. But upgrade number one is the wheels. The wheels that we have gone for here are the Elite Edge version. The reason we went for the Edge version is because they are much, much lighter and they're 50. So the Elite Edge 50, and here they are. They actually look magnificent, and I've just weighed them in. They come in at 30 grams. Now these came in at £400, so they are obviously the biggest expense there, but I suspect they're going to be way lighter than the stock wheels here, just standard box section rim. But on top of the £400, we did have to pay an extra £70 for shipping, so whatever the retail prices you see on there, you probably are going to have to pay a few extra pounds, probably 70, to get the wheels to you. Oh, and I need to get some rim tape on there as well. That was genuinely the easiest rim tape I've ever had to get on. Doesn't have a brand, but I'm assuming it's just Elite's own rim tape. A breeze. One thing I will say though, there was only enough rim tape to do one layer on each wheel. I would like a little bit more. I always feel like if you're going tubeless, it's nice to have 2 layers of rim tape on there. Thankfully, we're only going for inner tubes. We're going for the Ride Now TPU inner tubes, reason being, great price, much lower rolling resistance than the current Butyl tubes that are in here, probably around 6 to 8 watts faster over the 2 pairs of tyres, and they're a lot lighter. Just got the normal 36 grams versions, a Butyl tube, 100 grams, easy weight saving. Only that, we'll be pairing those wheels and inner tube combo with the GP5000 STR. I've gone for the 28 width one, just because I'm worried about tyre clearance, otherwise I would normally go a bit wider here for the UK. But currently there is the Vittoria Zafiro Pro on here in a 25C, so first of all narrow for the UK, very uncomfortable. Secondly, I'm going to put the rolling resistance number here for the Zafiro Pro and this tyre here, so you can see just how much speed we're gaining in rolling resistance. I always do this. I put the tyre on in the wrong direction and only realise after I fully inflated it. I think for rim brake, these tyres are a pretty damn good fit for these wheels. They've got a 21mm internal and a 28mm external. And you can see at the moment, without any riding, the 28mm GP5000 STR is a very flush fit. I mean, ideally I'd still like the rim a little bit wider, especially with the GP5s, because they like to stretch out these wheels, these tyres a little bit on the wheels, so they'll probably measure about 30mm towards the end of their life, the GP5. So a little bit mushroomed, but I still think they'll be more aero than what we currently have on here. My final pairing is a brand new cassette, and of course we have gone for Ultegra, so it's Tiagra on here, so 10-speed Tiagra, and it's got an 1128 cassette, so obviously we're going to boost that to 1130. It's not doing any big mountains and stuff, and it's got a 50-34 on the front, so we don't need to go massive on the back for this guy. I'm going to weigh the cassette on total wheel setup versus what those are currently weighing at the moment. Guys, I'd nearly run into a disaster. So the Elite wheels do provide this 10-speed spacer here, but effectively when it goes on and you put the whole cassette on and you put the lock ring on, unfortunately it's not big enough still. The lock ring presses against the free hub body there rather than the actual cassette itself. But thankfully I've had a big rummage around and I now have a thicker one. Sometimes the old stuff you don't think you're gonna need, you end up needing. Okay, that's insane. Weighing it in now, the previous wheel came in at 1939. If I overlay an image, we are now down to 1317 difference on screen now. That's like just over 600 grams just on the rear wheel. And again, the previous front wheel came in at just under 1300 grams. I'm gonna put that on screen now. And we have got 948, real number on screen now. Post-editing, Jason can deal with that. Okay, so I kind of feel like we've nearly saved a kilo just on the wheels alone, but as we all know, the gains are going to come from the better tires, the better inner tubes, and slightly more depth on the wheel there. So going from like, well, a box section to 50 mil, I mean, it's probably going to be what? As a guesstimate, 5 to 10 watts at 30 k's an hour. So the wheels were huge. Let's do the old through axles, 120 grams. And the new ones come in at 94. Teeny saving, but better than nothing. Don't know what it is, but fresh rubber smells really good. Am I the only one? Now, if you've been following my channel for a while, you'll know that this is one of my favorite upgrades. We're gonna get rid of this nasty old chain right here. And we're gonna be going to a waxed chain. Here's one I prepared earlier. Now, wax gonna be saving a couple of watts over a normal lube chain, but really the gains come from the cleanliness. I just love how clean a waxed chain is at all times. If you want to know how to wax your chain and stuff, video glides linked down below. Those Elite wheels do come with their own brake pads, but I have opted to go for some Swiss stock ones just because I trust the brand and I know they work really well with carbon wheels. Next time I do something like this, I'm going to be wearing gloves. Dirty hands. You want to know something? I hated the yellow first, but now that we've got some deep wheels on there, not sponsored by Coke by the way, now we've got some deep wheels on there, this bike is starting to look fantastic. I'm getting really excited for it. The shifting is there and it's working fine as it's currently set up, but I want it to be perfect, which brings me on to my next set of upgrades for this bike. So first of all, new brake cables, new shifting cables, really because, well, I want them both to be crisp and beautiful. But whilst I'm here working at the front end, first of all, this bar tape has to go. It is old and it's tired, so I'm going to replace it with some Supercaz bar tape, my favorite, just sticky, feels comfortable, easy enough to wrap. But then finally, we are also upgrading to an aero handlebar. This one right here is the Prime Doyen. Originally Prime was a Wiggle brand, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. But there's a number of reasons why we've gone to this one. First of all, it's narrower, so it's gonna fit his shoulders better. The narrowest I could get was 400 mil wide. And normally on the Prime, I would have liked a 380 preferably for this guy, but it doesn't matter. Second of all, carbon, a little bit lighter. Not that bothered by the weight, but I'm gonna measure it anyway. And finally, it's an aero handlebar. It looks better and it's probably gonna make you slightly faster. And I gotta say, it feels nice, these things. Cost us, I think, £117 from memory for a nice carbon handlebar. All right, the new handlebars come in at 222 grams. The old version here, let's see, 289 grams. Rather annoyingly, I forgot to bring my cabling kit, so I'm gonna kind of have to do this a hard way. Well, I would be lying if I said that was easy. It took me about an hour and a half to get all those cables in and set up and shifting well. Just a couple of small bits to go. I'm going to take this bottle cage off and put on these two carbon ones I've got from AliExpress. And they're pretty damn light. I'm going to compare the weight to this one, and I've Kind of used these through 2 winters now, and they're sturdy and they do well. The weight comparison here is probably going to be tiny. There's the original 27 grams. And here is the new one. I am thinking it's going to be lighter, 20, okay. Okay, moment of truth, let's weigh this thing in. It was 8.83. I'll stick the original up in the corner here on screen for you now, but we have gone down to, I've just got there, 7.98 kilos. Well, that is some weight saving. I mean, obviously all of that is down to wheels, tires, inner tubes, but the other upgrades I'm super happy with. There's just a few more things to chuck on here real quick, and then we'll do an overview. Essentially, I've just got a saddlebag with some spare inner tubes and tire levers and stuff. If you like this saddlebag, it's kind of like the Silca Matone, but a little bit cheaper, actually a bit better waterproofing, and I like the mechanism a bit more. Once again, not sponsored or anything like that, but the company is called Lumiere & Co, and they just make a cheaper version of this nice slim saddlebag. Okay guys, here it is, the final thing. I am super chuffed with this. I think it looks absolutely amazing. I mean, of course, I chose all the upgrades, so I will think it is. But strangely, didn't like the yellow before, but now with the deep wheels on it, honestly, that yellow is looking super cool. Kind of like a retro race bike, those deeper wheels. You're not going to get any wider tires on it than these 28s, I don't think. I think that is probably close enough for the clearance, but you can't fit a 28 on, and it looks really good. I've done my absolute best to try and keep the cables in front of the head tube, just to try and maintain a little bit more aerodynamics, but I think that aero bar and stem definitely looks a lot better than the original there. But super impressed with these Elite Edge wheels. Like I said, they came in at 1330 grams, and paired with these 28 GP5000s, I think they look fantastic. And I've just given it a little spin around here. It's definitely not my size bike. This is a size 53 and I rode like a 58 to 60. But promise, these wheels feel so much more sprightly than those box section wheels. If you want a full review of these wheels, I can ask to borrow them off the guy who owns this bike and put them on my winter bike and give them a go for you if it gets enough love. It's taken me a fair few hours to get it done, but what do you guys think? Would you have done some different upgrades? Would you have spent the money elsewhere? If you were trying to make the bike even better from here, where would you go from here? Maybe you change a group set and chain ring, that would probably save a lot of weight, or chain set. Maybe some lighter pedals and the stock standard pedals. In the end here, what's my opinion? Should you buy a new bike or should you upgrade? Obviously it's going to depend on the quality of bike that you already have. This one was a very basic entry level bike, I think from 2019, 2018. I don't know how well the Boardman rides, so I can't judge for that, if I would upgrade the frame as well. But genuinely, spending £1,000 on these upgrades, I think right now, unfortunately I won't be able to ride it properly, but right now we've got a bike here that is going to keep up with practically anything, especially because we've got the aero up and the rolling resistance down, and the weight is just a bonus to help it feel a lot more sprightly there. So yeah, in my opinion, depending on the bike, you should probably upgrade it before you buy a new one. Of course, if you want disc brakes, you're going to have to upgrade this one, but that's another story. Anyway, guys, like I said, if you have any questions, chuck them down below, or different upgrades that you would do. If you want to message me privately, you can message me privately on Instagram over here, or just follow me for my daily shenanigans. But I've been Jason, this has been Cycling a Box. See you in another video.